Alright, so I have been working on this video for so long, for months and months and months, and I'm so excited to finally be diving into it. Let's do this. In today's vlog, I'm going to be talking about my notes system, and my life is in notes. I have all my ideas in my notes. I have writing, I have poetry, unedited poetry, ideas for writing. I have journals in my notes. I have a bunch of health notes. I also put all my meeting notes into my notes app. Basically, my entire life is in notes. And I have been on a journey with digital minimalism, and this is the second video in the digital minimalism series to pare down my notes. I had really never gone through my notes before, which is just embarrassing to admit. So this was way overdue. This is what I did. I went from almost 4,000 digital notes down to, and this is where it is today, 473. And like I said, this has taken me months because I had started an organization system and I'd started going through and deleting a bunch. And then I watched one of Matt D'Avella's videos and I found the PARA system that he had started using. It stands for projects, areas like of responsibility, resources, and archives. So I'm gonna go through each of those areas, and that is how I organized my note system. This is the PARA system described by Fort Labs. And so they break it down by like project, or short-term efforts in your work or life that you're working on now, area are long-term responsibilities that you want to manage over time, resource, topics, or interests that may be useful in the future, and archives, so inactive items from the other three categories. And so they do, like, if you want to check out this article, it's a great article. They do break down kind of areas that you might have for each section, which is super helpful. So I used some of this to kind of organize, but I also varied from this. I didn't necessarily use this all the time. I did what felt kind of intuitive and what felt right, so that I'll be able to find stuff in the future. So I kind of want to start each digital minimalism video in this series with a definition of minimalism. So I'm going to be doing a lot of like reading today or looking at my notes to talk about it. And guess what? My vlog ideas, it's in my notes app. Today's definition of minimalism is from another one of Matt D'Avella's videos. He's just such a huge inspiration to me. And so he talks about minimalism as being a tool to define our priorities, gain clarity on our purpose, and help narrow in on where to spend our time and energy. And going through my notes like this, because my life is in notes, and then organizing it and now knowing where everything is and having so many less to go through, that definition fits perfectly with what we're talking about today. Because when you know where everything is and you're not cluttered by either bad organization system or just notes you don't need, it's so much easier to find what you need faster, more efficiently, all of that. So another thing I wanted to mention is that, especially recently with my health just being completely out of control and we don't really know what's going on, doing this digital minimalism journey has helped me feel so much more just like in control of my life, when my health right now makes my life feel so out of control. This is an area that like we control. Digital minimalism, spatial, environmental minimalism, all of those things are things that we control. And so when life feels wild, I'll go back to like, okay, let me organize something. Let me make sure that all my digital spaces or my physical spaces are how I want them. And that's been really helpful for me. All right, so now what I'm gonna try to do is screen record on my laptop and show you my organization system. So let's see if I can do this. So what is so frustrating is that I recorded this yesterday and then I've spent the last day going and organizing my notes even further and consolidating them more. And so I had 400 and some notes. Now I have 297. So I'm gonna re-record this whole tour just for this. So let's get into it. So like I said, I organize by projects, areas, resources, and archives. So starting out here, this area here is for notes that maybe I need to make a note really quickly and I don't know where to put it yet. I just need to capture something. So this will end up being notes like throughout the day that I've written that might be new. and then I'll, either capture that information and put it in the right folder, or I'll cut out stuff and put it in the right note. So right now this folder has 0 notes in it, but throughout the day it might accumulate some, and then usually at the end of the day or at the end of the week I'll go through and make sure that those end up where they need to go. It's so interesting because it shows the total number here, and then all of my projects are in folders, and so it shows it being 0 even though there are a lot of notes in these folders, which is just a really weird, interesting thing. So you can see this recently deleted. This is just in the last 30 days. Like I said, I've been working on this project for literally months, so it won't show all of that. So let's get started with projects. So I have projects as like active stuff that I'm working on. So for me, that is some interesting projects that some of them you've never even heard of before. But, for example, I have my monthly Instagram recaps. I have basically like a template that I'll use to fill in, which just makes it a little bit easier. My watercolors, I can't wait to tell you all about my new watercolors. I have a ton of ideas there. Writing, I have my ideas and unedited writing in this folder here. Other writing, which is just like unedited and unfinished writing ideas from each year for the past decade. And then poetry, I also have that in a consolidated, so like one note for all of 2022. So then I can go through the unedited notes. And then I also have a master list on a Word document as well. So I don't know if you can hear baby, but it's almost her dinner time and she's very hungry. And then areas of responsibility. So for me, I don't have a ton of areas of responsibility because I'm disabled, so I'm unable to work, I'm unable to go to school, unable to care for myself in a lot of areas. And so what I have though is my health and then my to-do list. I have a bunch of different to-do lists that include a lot of different stuff. And then my health I have broken down into like doctor's appointment notes, ongoing health notes, my different routines, and then just like random health stuff. So for me, that is my area of responsibility. Now for resources, this includes like all interests for me. So my growth folder has so many things in it. It has like a don't forget file. I have a whole file of just notes that I love, different tips that I've written down, different resources, videos that I want to save and remember and come back to, spirituality practices. Like it just includes so many areas of growth for me. So it's kind of a collection area for a lot of different stuff. I have reading stuff. So I have like book quotes from certain years. Then I have read book lists by year in the past when I was able to read. So I have a want to read list. So a lot of stuff that I've organized in there. So I have meeting notes, which are broken down into also mentors. So these are current things. All the older stuff goes into the archive. And then I also just have shared notes as well. So the archive is everything that is just not active. So for example, so many of my projects are not active anymore. And so they all go into the not active folder. I worked so hard on my upcycle design folder, which was one of my social ventures, and I consolidated so much. So I put down, for example, random upcycle design meetings. I consolidated them. I put them in one long note. And what's really cool is you can do subheadings, and then you can basically toggle the subheading so they can just show the title and you don't actually see all the notes unless you want to. So it's actually a lot easier to just skim once it's organized by topic, which is amazing. So yes, I have all my projects broken down. Then I have something called Sierra Studies. So I have just a lot of stuff that I was kind of learning about. And so again, I did the same like toggle system. So I have one document of all the stuff I was learning about, and then I can go down through there. I have articles, so a lot of times I'll save like a whole article if I really loved it and want to make sure that I can always find it again. So I have a health archive as well. And so this is just health stuff that's not active. So for example, symptom lists from previous years, I'll put those down here. Then I have a ton of like meeting archives, but I was able to consolidate a lot of those as well, which felt really good. Like just random networking calls. So many things went in there that was just kind of a one-off call that I might never even look at again. So I consolidated that so much. So then I also kind of pulled out specific events just to separate them from more of the maybe networking meetings. And then also pulled out some like past networking calls that aren't currently active, but I obviously want to keep those notes as well. I have a random archive, which is just to collect all. And then I have an archive for school, so college. I was homeschooled growing up, so I have a whole homeschool area. And then archival writing, which I've further broken down into journals, where I have dumped all my different journal stuff, and then letters, where I've dumped all my letter stuff. So yeah, this is how I use the PARA system to kind of organize my life. I wanted to show one example of the toggles that I was talking about. So this is the title up here of the whole document, but then I have my read book list by year broken down. So for example, in 2023, I read 36 books, which is wild. 2022, over 100, okay? But this just makes really long lists so much easier to kind of deal with, and it organizes it in one long document versus having to go and look at all of these individual other kind of tiles, which is how it shows up. So like, for example, this is how it otherwise shows up for different ones. You can also have this view too, but for me it's just so much easier to really just click on it and then have this like toggle list, and I can just go down and toggle it. So I just want to show an example of the consolidation techniques that I was using to get down to so few notes for my life, since again, a reminder, I have everything in notes my whole life. All right, so that was how I have organized my life in the Notes app using the PARA system. Something that is really helpful is that iCloud will organize your notes by timeline. So you can see which notes are like even at the bottom of all your iCloud notes or at the bottom of a folder. So like which notes you use super infrequently or haven't used for years. And then you can decide like, okay, do I want this to go in the archive folder and like keep it at least for a little bit? Or do I just want to like get rid of it because I obviously am not using it? So that was a really fun tip because in my old Gmail, that was not the case. So obviously, if you use notes for your organization system, you can utilize this PARA system. If you don't use notes, you could try using in any kind of different notes app that you might use the PARA system, or you could start using it. I've just found it to be super helpful, and it just does help my brain be like, okay, you know, I know the growth folder is under resources and I'll just go directly there. And so like, it's just very easy for my brain to kind of click in to where stuff is organized. And something that was really funny is everyone knows that Matt D'Avella is just one of my inspirations, and I have less notes than Matt had in one of his videos, and it just, it made me feel so good because he's been a minimalist for over a decade, and there's kind of this intrusive thought in the back of my head that's like, oh, you're not a real minimalist. But yeah, he is a professional minimalist and I have less notes than him, okay? So yeah, this has just been a very satisfying, fun journey for me because I love organizing and I loved learning about this like new system of organization. And I really hope that you learned something or got inspired by something today and can hopefully use some of this in your own life. And so again, in the future, I'm going to continue this digital minimalism spring cleaning series. I'm going to do one on my inbox and how I've organized my whole inbox to be down to inbox 0. I'm going to talk about how I organize my computer, my phone, and my photos. So those are what I'm planning to do in the future. If you have any like areas of digital minimalism that you really want me to touch, please let me know. But in the meantime, I'm gonna keep working on my series. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm having so much fun and I hope you're learning from this. I gotta go let baby back in the room and I need to go rest. I almost threw up again this weekend. So my stomach is still not doing very well. I don't know why. So I'm gonna go rest. Bye friends.